In a quiet Oklahoma town, 6 lives were about to be shattered. What happened next would expose a web of deception and failure that reached far beyond Henrietta's borders. The Henryetta Massacre of 2023 wasn't just a murder-suicide. It was the culmination of years of missed opportunities and ignored red flags. In the next 30 minutes, we'll unravel the timeline of events leading to this tragedy, revealing shocking details about Jesse McFadden's past, his controlling behavior, and the disturbing evidence found at the crime scene. This case has sparked a nationwide call for reform in sex offender monitoring and sentencing. Welcome to Abyss of Crime, where we explore the darkest depths of human behavior. Today, we delve into a case that shook Henryetta, Oklahoma, to its core. Your support allows us to continue shedding light on these crucial stories that demand our attention and scrutiny. On a seemingly ordinary day in Henryetta, Oklahoma, 2 teenage girls, Ivy Webster and Brittany Brewer, set out for what was supposed to be a routine sleepover. The girls, known for their close friendship and responsible behavior, had made plans to spend time together at a friend's house. As hours passed without any contact from Ivy or Brittany, an unsettling sense of unease began to creep over their families. The girls' usual pattern of frequent communication and prompt responses to messages had abruptly ceased. What started as mild concern quickly escalated into full-blown panic as attempts to reach the girls proved futile. The stark contrast between the normalcy of the sleepover plans and the girls' sudden vanishing act heightened the fear that something terrible had befallen them. The initial search efforts were frantic and disorganized. Parents, friends, and neighbors combed the local area, desperately hoping to find any sign of Ivy and Brittany. As the community rallied together, the girls' families grappled with a growing sense of dread. Missing persons experts emphasized the critical nature of the first 48 hours in such cases. During this crucial window, the chances of locating missing individuals are significantly higher. Law enforcement agencies typically ramp up their efforts during this period. Recognizing that time is of the essence, local authorities issued an Amber Alert, broadcasting details of the missing girls across the state. The community's response was immediate and overwhelming. Social media platforms buzzed with shared posts and pleas for information. Volunteers organized search parties, combing through nearby wooded areas and abandoned buildings. Investigators began meticulously piecing together the girls' last known communications. They scrutinized text messages, social media posts, and phone records, searching for any clues that might shed light on their whereabouts. In retrospect, certain details that initially seemed innocuous took on a more sinister significance. As the search intensified, a name emerged that would soon become central to the unfolding tragedy. Jesse McFadden. Initially mentioned as a person of interest, McFadden's connection to the case was not immediately clear. Investigators approached this new lead cautiously, aware that every piece of information could be crucial in locating the missing teenagers. The turning point in the investigation came with a grim discovery that shocked even the most seasoned law enforcement officers. Multiple bodies were found on McFadden's property, instantly transforming the missing persons case into a complex homicide investigation. The peaceful rural setting, once a backdrop to an ordinary life, had become the scene of an unthinkable crime. This gruesome finding sent shockwaves through the community and beyond. The hope that had sustained the search efforts for Ivy and Brittany was cruelly extinguished. In its place, a myriad of questions arose. Who was Jesse McFadden? What events had led to this horrific outcome? And perhaps most pressingly, could this tragedy have been prevented? Jesse McFadden appeared, to the untrained eye, as an unremarkable figure in Henryetta, Oklahoma. His average build, unassuming demeanor, and role as a family man painted a picture of normalcy that belied the darkness lurking beneath. This carefully constructed facade served as a shield, allowing a convicted rapist to seamlessly blend into small-town life. The system designed to protect society from dangerous offenders had failed spectacularly in McFadden's case. Like a safety net riddled with gaping holes, multiple safeguards had proven ineffective. His 2003 conviction for first-degree rape should have marked him as a high-risk individual. Yet upon release, he managed to reintegrate into society without proper monitoring. The gravity of this oversight became painfully apparent when McFadden was arrested on new charges related to soliciting child pornography shortly after his release. Despite the severity of these allegations, he was granted a $25,000 bond. What followed was a series of delays that would prove fatal, each postponement inadvertently emboldening McFadden and reinforcing his sense of invulnerability. As he awaited trial, McFadden's behavior raised red flags that went largely unnoticed. Neighbors observed his controlling tendencies, noting how he kept his family under lock and key. He insisted on knowing their whereabouts at all times, often accompanying them on errands or restricting their movements entirely. This level of control aligns with patterns exhibited by repeat sex offenders, who often seek to isolate and dominate their victims. McFadden's deception extended to his use of contraband cell phones while incarcerated, facilitating his continued solicitation of minors. The discovery of 32 phones linked to his property following the murders raised serious concerns about the extent of his illicit activities and potential connections to other crimes. As his court date approached, the pressure on McFadden intensified. On the day of the murders, he sent ominous messages to a victim, indicating he would not return to prison. This suggests that the prospect of renewed incarceration may have been a driving factor in his decision to commit these horrific acts. The case of Jesse McFadden highlights significant failures in the system designed to monitor and manage convicted sex offenders. Experts have noted that sex offender registries often fail to prevent recidivism, as evidenced by McFadden's ability to exploit gaps in the system. The lack of communication between law enforcement agencies regarding his pending charges allowed him to maintain his facade of normalcy for far too long, with tragic consequences. As investigators approached Jesse McFadden's rural property, an eerie stillness hung in the air. The search for the missing girls had led them to this isolated location, but nothing could have prepared them for the horrors that awaited. Crossing the threshold, they made their first grim discovery. The initial body was found in disarray, bearing signs of a violent struggle. As the search expanded, multiple bodies were discovered scattered across the property, positioned in a way that suggested a calculated act. The crime scene, described as staged, hinted at a killer seeking control even after death. Forensic analysts meticulously examined the scene, revealing a chilling narrative of the victim's final moments. The medical examiner's report showed each victim had sustained between 1 and 3 gunshot wounds to the head, indicative of execution-style killings. This methodical approach suggested a cold demeanor throughout the ordeal. A crucial piece of evidence emerged: a 9mm pistol, later confirmed as the murder weapon, purchased by Holly Guess in January 2022. The positioning of the bodies and evidence of struggle told a story of terror and desperation. Experts noted that the crime scene arrangement revealed a killer craving control and manipulation, aligning with traits of family annihilators. As the investigation deepened, more disturbing evidence came to light. The Oklahoma State Bureau of Investigation reported the discovery of restraints and sex toys, pointing to premeditation and hinting at a history of sexual violence. The timing of the murders added complexity. The bodies were discovered on the same day McFadden was scheduled to appear in court for charges related to soliciting child pornography. This coincidence suggested the impending legal proceedings may have been a catalyst for his actions, driving him to commit these crimes rather than face consequences. Forensic analysts uncovered evidence revealing the full extent of the victim's ordeal. The positioning of the bodies, signs of struggle, and presence of restraints pointed to a horrifying conclusion. The medical examiner's report would later confirm that some victims had been sexually assaulted before their deaths. The Henryetta tragedy cast a shadow over the small Oklahoma community, forever altering the lives of 6 individuals whose dreams and aspirations were brutally silenced. At the heart of this devastating narrative was Holly Guess, 35, a mother of 3, who had embarked on what she believed to be a new chapter in life. Her marriage to Jesse McFadden in May 2022, meant to be a fresh start, instead became the catalyst for an unimaginable horror. Holly's mother, Jan Mayo, revealed the chilling truth that had eluded them. "He lied to my daughter and convinced her it was all just a huge mistake." The lives of Holly's children, Riley Elizabeth Allen, 17, Michael James Mayo, 15, and Tiffany Dorr Guess, 13, were inextricably bound to their mother's fate. Each harbored dreams and potential, now forever unrealized. Among the victims were 2 teenage friends, Ivy Webster, 14, and Brittany Brewer, 15, whose innocent sleepover turned into a nightmare. Ivy and Tiffany, inseparable friends living a mile apart, shared a bond that tragically extended to their final moments. Brittany, recently nominated for Miss Henryetta, embodied the community's lost potential. Her father, Nathan Brewer, described her as his right-hand sidekick, a poignant reminder of the deep personal losses suffered. The tragedy rippled through Henryetta like a stone cast into still waters, its impact reaching far beyond the immediate families. Hundreds gathered for a vigil, their collective grief a testament to the community's shattered sense of security. Residents grappled with newfound fear and distrust, questioning the safety they once took for granted in their tight-knit town. Justin Webster, Ivy's father, vocalized the betrayal felt by many. "I felt like I trusted Holly, and I felt like I trusted Jesse. But our law enforcement let us down. Our judicial system let us down." His words echoed through the community as residents struggled to reconcile the presence of a convicted sex offender in their midst with the tragic outcome that followed. In the aftermath, grief transformed into action. Family members began advocating for stronger sex offender laws, channeling their pain into a mission for change. Justin Webster's declaration, "To get to save some other children to make a change is what I want to do," encapsulates the driving force behind this newfound advocacy. Their efforts aim to address the systemic failures that allowed a convicted predator to infiltrate their community and shatter so many lives, turning personal tragedy into a catalyst for societal change. The Henryetta tragedy laid bare a justice system riddled with cracks, allowing a convicted predator to slip through. McFadden's release despite pending charges and his ability to reintegrate into a family without proper monitoring have sparked outrage. Lawmakers are responding with proposed reforms like Knight's Law, requiring convicted child sex offenders to serve their full sentences without early release. While well-intentioned, these reforms face challenges in implementation. For families like the Websters and Brewers, advocating for change is not just a mission. It's a way to honor their children and prevent future tragedies. This case reminds us all that justice must balance rehabilitation with an unwavering commitment to public safety. The Henryetta Massacre starkly demonstrates the devastating consequences of systemic failures, and it serves as a somber reminder of the vigilance required to protect our communities. While families like the Websters and Brewers work tirelessly to turn their grief into action, the lessons from this tragedy must guide us all toward greater accountability and change. Thank you for joining us in reviewing this heartbreaking case. As we continue to explore the darkest depths of human behavior, let this story be a warning. The shadows often conceal more than we expect. Stay vigilant, stay safe, and remember, the truth, no matter how sinister, always finds its way to the surface. Until next time, goodbye.